Hey there, it's Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More, Worldwide TV Network, iTube 247 out of Franklin, Tennessee, Women on TV.tv, iHeartRadio, and all platforms around the world. I've been looking forward to talking to this man for a while because I've never talked to him in the past. You know, I think of blues. I think of that singer, that songwriter, that producer. I think of, I've never been Grammy nominated, but you know what? Not a lot of people have, but he has. So one of those things that comes to these things like this, Jon, who are you and where are you coming from for those people who may not know who you are, because things have changed in the world. So we have to always remind them what we did.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Brian. I started out as a guitarist in the mid and late 80s. And I was playing blues and rock. Unlike some of my colleagues at the time, I was drawn to Jimmy and Sly Stone and B.B. King. That's where I lived. And so I began my career sort of emulating those guys and learning how to play and trying to figure out if I can make my voice sing or not. Mm-hmm. And a few years later, I'm releasing a new album, and I've got a movie company called Watercolors, and I do some producing for other records. And I can't believe it's been this long and fun of a road.
Did you see yourself doing movies? Did you see that coming, that road? Or you kind of switched pathways?
No, man. I'll be honest with you. I did. I saw it at 10. I always, not as an actor, but as someone who was part of making the movie thing happen. I didn't know in what way, but I was always drawn. I was always drawn to what music sounded like in the movie theater when the lights went down. I went, whoa. When you hear the theme for MGM and the lights go down, I went, oh. Young Jon Butcher thought that was amazing. And I think that's what began my interest in making music for TV and film.
Talk about how you started. I grew up in New London, Waterford, Connecticut, and then we, in the mixed neighborhood, and we moved to an all-white neighborhood in East Lyme, Connecticut. 7 private beaches and 1 state beach, and only 3 black families out of a town of 7,000. And so at that point, I was introduced to a lot of great music at that point. But this is when hip hop was starting to come in, rappers delight.
Exactly. So
I wasn't the disc jockey. I said, I better be a disc jockey. How could not the black guy be the disc jockey in a white school? So at that point, I started mixing. I just remember, Owner of a Lonely Heart, with Richard Pryor lyrics, comedy lyrics over that. And the kids loved it because they had never heard it before. At the same time, we're playing Led Zeppelin, the longest slow song that you can hand, but you had to do these things. So I learned listening to different forms of music. That was the right way to go. And it sounds like you did the same thing too.
Man, what you did, Brian, is what I did. We borrowed from here and there and over here and some of that and rolled it all up and made it into something that we could call our own. And I don't know, man. I don't regret a moment of that journey. I know you don't either.
No.
I think what makes you right now is the fact that you were open. Your radar was open for different sound and different vibes than someone would have thought. And I've always sort of I was the second guy, a black guy at MTV, following Michael Jackson. And those were weird times, man, because
they didn't want to play it.
It was subtle racism. And I even ran into a lot of, is he playing rock or is it R&B? I don't know what and I had to overcome that. I had to just sort of believe in my own path and journey.
It's interesting. A lot of those stories haven't been told yet. Tina Turner had the same thing after Ike. I mentioned Ike. And that's interesting. She goes into Buddhism and then has to reinvent herself. I think she was 40 at that point, and that's interesting. But here's what I like about stuff. I never thought in the days I'd be friends with, the band Kansas, because I think about playing them in the mid 70s starting out. And then what happens? They all end up making movies about the band. And I think that's great. And it's not a coincidence. And you can see this because you're in the film side like I am. Why those rock artists are doing great.
Exactly. Blurring the lines between those things and creating art that someone doesn't expect you to make for whatever their reasons are, that's that's an edge. That puts you ahead and gives you a point of view that some others might not have.
What do you like better? Do you like the process of songwriter, or do you like I just want to play music, being that guitarist? And what do you go back and forth?
Those two things are different. They dance together from time to time, but they're different. The process is different. Songwriting, I dig it when I'm in that mode. During the pandemic, I spent a lot of time, like I'm sure you did, inside and not going anywhere and masked up.
Yep.
So that kind of stirs the songwriter in you. You want to talk about it, not in big grandiose ways, but in small, personal, one-to-one ways. So it's not soapboxing. Yeah. So I dig that. And then I also love it when I tour and it's about the guitar and all that stuff. So it's two different disciplines, but I like them both. They work together.
How was your head during lockdown? Because I talked to a lot of my musician friends and they didn't see it coming. I mean, I saw it coming. I have had my own hand sanitizer for 5 years. I'm that clean guy to begin with. And they would all laugh. I'm like, why do you have this? I'm like, well, if you knew what I see coming, you'd have it too. What did everybody need last year? Hand sanitizer. I had this thing called the restroom kit. Both first responders, I found them in 2017. They're
kidding.
Both first responders at that point.
Wow.
I was trying to get them on cruise ships and in hotels. What happened to hotels last year and cruise ships? Nothing. Wow. Last year was my best year, John. So my goal was to help all those people who came before me to make sure that they stay here so people can hear your stories after me. Sure. That's important to me.
I think last year was my best year too, Brian. It was.
All right. So John, you're only the 29th person that I know out of the thousands of people that we both know. That's not a lot of people, No. It's kind of sad.
We took advantage of a thing that could have suppressed our desire to make art and turned it around into creative energy.
Yes.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
You know what I
mean? We were supposed to do that.
Yeah. I think so.
Mother Earth said, you know what? I gotta cleanse. You guys are in timeout for a while, but also you don't know what the brothers and sisters from Mother Earth is coming. And that's another thing. That doesn't mean you have to stop everything. You just have to be cautious and clean and still go out and have fun, but the world has changed. We all get a year older.
But this thing that we have just gone through, the effects of it are not over. There are psychological effects to what we went through. Absolutely. There are economical effects that we're seeing now. There are interactions with police forces around the country. And all of this, I think, is born out of this thing, this dark hallway we passed through. And what I was trying to do, dude, is to keep my eye on what was important to me. My wife and I made a garden this past year.
That's what we were supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and ate them. And it was wonderful. And I spent a lot of time recording. I have a studio. And I spent time sort of trying to reflect this in a way that wasn't soapboxy, but was personal. You know what I mean? I know you do.
Yeah. This is one of the things that I liked about you, because I'm leaving tomorrow to go up to our Dreamweaver Artist Ranch in Redding, California, which is all sustainable, environmentally friendly, and net zero. Talk about your garden for one, and then what you and your wife have created also, because I love that aspect. It's very, very important. Uh-oh, he froze on me.
Uh-oh, I think I might have lost you, Brian.
Oh, there you are, and there I am.
I think I might have lost you.
No, I'm here. I can hear you.
Okay, you're back. You froze for a minute. Yeah.
Oh.
I think. Yes. Can you hear me?
I was talking about you and your wife have created. As far as planning food and a couple of other things that you two do together, also.
Well, again, it's about taking a situation that has darkness and trying to create some light out of that.
Absolutely.
And I mentioned the garden because it was important to us. It became important to grow this food and eat it and not be compelled to go to the market for everything. Remember the toilet paper shortage and all that stuff? Those things compelled us to go out and be, and risky behavior. We were compelled to do it. But food didn't have to be one of them. And so we grew vegetables, and we reconnected. My wife was a photographer, and she reconnected to that art in a significant way. That's meaningful to us. It has meaning. So coming out of the other side of it, I feel stronger somehow. I think that Lorinda does too. We feel empowered. That's the word I'm looking for.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that's the goal, right, man? To try and make what we can out of this life be positive light and not darkness.
And it sounds like it made you two closer too, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It had a big impact on this record, A Special Day, a big impact. And I think that's where the music and the songs and the lyrics came from. It came out of that process.
Talk about a couple of those songs. Why are they important? Obviously, I know exactly where you're coming from, but tell the audience why they're important.
Special Day was something my mom would say to me. At times, I was really young and going to school, and we moved from Alaska back to Pennsylvania. And so I'm making new friends, and I'm intimidated, and all of the things. I think I was one of the few Black kids in the school, so I had some trepidation. And she said, "Don't worry, this is your special day," and that stuck with me. And so that song is a reflection of keeping your chin up and keeping positive when all around you might not be.
Exactly. When you think about growing up in Alaska, I mean, what was that like?
Here's what happened, Brian. I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but the family moved to Alaska when we were young. My dad worked for the government. And so we spent our childhood in what would be called a village called Liaho, about 90 miles from the town of Fairbanks, which in itself was tiny, right?
Yeah.
So I used to go to a school called Brown's Court Trailer School. And in one room, there was 3 people in the 6th grade and 3 people in the 5th grade, and we're all sitting next to each other. And it was like small and isolated. And I think that was good for me. It was a way for me to meet other people, white kids, Indian children. It was a way for me to see myself in broader terms.
Yeah.
So when I came, so I think that was important in my development as I don't know about a musician, but as a human.
Yeah, and that makes sense. What's your inspiration for people today? What are you telling some of your friends who didn't have a good year last year? There's so many people. What are you saying to them?
I don't know that I can speak to someone's pain. I don't think I can. I don't think I can speak to someone's personal trial. What I'm trying to do is reflect light and positivity. And sometimes doing that is good for everyone. When I was looking at the songs, I think I was telling you a few minutes ago about lyrics and how I don't like the soapbox. Big topics are racism and poverty and inequality, right? Those are big topics. But I'm not comfortable talking about inequality and singing about inequality. So I write small stories for real people, so that those things are reflected in personal stories and not in big grandiose topics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
that makes sense at the point.
Yeah, it's a way of talking about things in a way that's personal to someone and not preachy.
Well, to me, you don't come off as a preachy guy anyhow, but what comes out of your mouth is powerful, and people will remember that when they walk out the door. That says something about you.
I did a record a number of years ago called Wishes. and it was one of my biggest records to that date. And even still, it's something that became important to people. And that particular song, is about the empowerment of poor people and disadvantaged people to survive and to flourish. Those are big topics, but I didn't mention flourish in the song or survive. I told small stories, and I think that that's what Special Day is as a record. It's a collection of small stories about real people.
What else do you have on it?
I'm sorry?
What else do you have on that, your latest?
The first song on the record is called Devil's Train. And that is specifically about what I saw in Houston when those poor folks were freezing to death.
Oh, yeah.
And the heat was turned off.
Yep.
And a certain senator was going on vacation. that made an impact on me. And so I wanted to talk about that in a way that I think I also made a video. It's on YouTube. You should check it out. It's a way of talking about that without saying it. It's called Devil's Train from Houston. That's the first song on the record.
Oh, I'm going to, because
check it out.
One of my co-hosts, she actually creates our logos or our images, was in Houston, got stuck with that. And two of her pets are a raccoon and what's the other one? A possum. She actually had her pets come in because of what was going on. It was hilarious.
Oh, wow.
And speaking of that, the other thing that I talk about is I have our own portable solar panels and our own power pack, because those things, it's called the Elias. I like to find things like that. You know, later in the year, if not early next year, you'll be invited out to our ranch to see all the new technology that we have.
Well, I enjoy that very much.
Because of things like that. And I know you and your wife are doing certain little things like that too.
Yeah.
You need clean water, you need food.
Hello, you know, clean air, clean water, decent food. It's not grandiose, but it's essential. And so we have to be reflective of those lives. We have to live the lives we sing about or talk about. And I know you understand this, and I'm trying really hard to live a good life that was positive and not negative.
Yeah. When it comes to, just your family life, with your wife, and you guys became a lot closer during that pandemic, where other people, they were locked down with someone they didn't want to be in the room with. And I was in the middle, keeping a lot of people like, you got to do this, you got to do this, this is not going away. And they're like, oh, it's only going to last 3 weeks. I'm like, no. Get that out of your head.
Do you remember, Brian, at the beginning, we were thinking, well, 60 days, a couple of months, maybe 3 months, and we should be through it. I'm thinking to myself, I don't know. It doesn't look like that's what's going to happen. And of course, we all know how that rolled out. But at the beginning, none of us sort of had an indication that it would be more than a year. I mean, I didn't. Maybe you did. Did you? I didn't.
Oh, yeah. I started working on this May of 2018. I was told, me and my partner, from the Art of Montague, about these things that were coming down the pipeline. There wasn't going to be movies. There wasn't going to be, cruise ships. One of my co-hosts was a performer on a cruise ship. She became one of our co-hosts because she had nothing else to do. But it was one of those things. Sure. We were preparing. We had a year, and we knew we had enough time, but not enough time to get stuff going. And so what I wanted to do, I wanted to get those companies. I wanted to help the hotels, with this hand sanitizer. I was doing my best to get it into their companies. I wanted to help mom and pop companies. Things like this, which is a Go donut that you have. You put your phone on and it rotates, or your tablet. I take it with me anyhow. If you're a woman, it fits on your wrist. But it was created by a woman, and it's just a simple product, but it's biodegradable. So things like this that I like, because these are the things that we need. We don't need more plastic. We don't need to keep polluting, the air. This is why we're in this situation. So, and it's not going away. And I said there was brothers and sisters coming. The brother and sister are coming out of India right now. If you can see what I'm saying. And it's not good. And so, everything's starting to open up, but I'm still being careful. My Lysol's right there. My hand sanitizer's right there. You have to.
I
Because
think so.
what I'm seeing when I'm going to restaurants and even the hotels, when I'm staying in a hotel and you haven't changed your rug, it was the same rug before pandemic,
How about
and
that?
you didn't change it after. What does that say?
Yeah, no kidding.
That's nuts. That's the first thing I'm seeing when I'm going to the hotels, the Four Seasons, the Beverly Hills, and they didn't have any events. That's where we did a lot of our functions. There isn't
Sure.
any. You don't have to go do a junket anymore. We're doing telecommunications. It's not
Yeah.
going away, is it?
No, I haven't. I haven't been on an airplane for 13 months, maybe 14. And
Me either.
I gotta be honest with you, I don't miss it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not excited to get in an airplane cabin and breathe airplane cabin air again.
Right.
I'm
Right.
not looking forward to that. So we'll see
I haven't.
how it shakes out.
I've taken the ground transportation. Even tomorrow, when I go up to Reading, I'm 17
Sure.
hours one way on an Amtrak, 17 hours
Amen.
back on an Amtrak. Here's what I did
Yeah.
like, and I tell these people because I've got 7.3 million views a day and counting. I'm not beholden to any corporation, so I can speak my mind carefully, sort of like how you wrote your song.
Sure.
It's worded carefully. So when I'm talking to those CEOs, I'm telling them what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have to worry about a sponsor backing off. I don't have that issue because we went and found our own little things to help those smaller
That's
companies
exactly right.
rise up.
And I think that's the key, Brian. I think the key is to find your own create your own network. I created watercolors, mini movies for that very reason. We make, I don't call them videos, but mini vignettes for artists and by artists, I mean painters or musicians who have a message or something important that they want to get out. And that I saw that as both fulfilling a need, at a budget that's not $30,000 or $40,000 like MTV videos used to be. I was in a few of those videos. We can't afford that now. Most
No.
musicians, my colleagues, can't sink that kind of capital into a video. So there was a need, a niche to fill for making these small films that artists like ourselves can afford, and that's what watercolors is.
I like that. That's very, very special. And that fits into kind of what we're doing for the Art to Montague. It's about
Sure.
those artists who have struggled, but have great visions, but don't know where to go take it because it may be too expensive. It's not supposed to be,
No, exactly right. And so these are the things that, and my music and my art are how I sustain myself. And I know you are the same. These are the things that sustain us. And so in making a new record, I'm looking to share some of that energy. That's the point.
See, and that's inspiring. I always tell people, and I'm not that songwriter, but I do listen to the lyrics now. And as that drummer, I would always listen to the beat first. I'm older now, so now I listen to the songs of a lot of the things in the 70s. I'm like, oh, this is what that song meant. Oh, this is what the Bee Gees were writing, as they were called a disco band when they really weren't a disco band. When you see the documentary on that, they were just talented songwriters for a lot of people, and that's incredible. So my job is to educate. We have a system for movie reviews and more called the 4 E's. If you fall into that educational, engaging, entertaining, and empathetic, that's where you fall into because of the things that you do and the things that you and your wife do. That's a great thing. I love that.
I think so. I think it is, and I'm blessed to be able to express myself in these ways. I'm blessed to work with such talented artists and musicians. I'm truly a lucky guy, and I recognize it. And what I do is use that as inspiration to move forward.
Give your social media links, Jon.
I can be found at jonbutcher.com. I can also be found at Twitter by the same handle. And my Facebook pages are pretty easy to find. I have one for my old band, Jon Butcher Axis, and my own personal page at Facebook. So by all means, my record's coming out June 15th. And I'm going to do everything I can to talk to people like yourselves to spread some of that energy around.
Oh, and we would love to do that. And what I will have some kind of strange way. I'm going to see if I can get you on our Tuesday night live show
Would
with
love
the
it.
other girl. I have 13 co-hosts. They're all women.
Yeah.
4 of them are singers, and the other 4 are
Yeah.
like one's Miss America, one's Miss United States Russia. The other one's the first Black America Miss USA. So, but we all love each other, and we all like to get together, even though we can't get together.
Sure.
So they would love to meet you. I would love to. I'm going to have Eileen set that up because you
Sure.
have a lot
That
to
sounds like
offer
fun,
for
dude.
people, and they would love to hear what you have to offer.
I
Because
would
it's
love
just
that.
reminding people of what, sometimes people don't know what people do on the side,
Let Eileen know, and we'll make it happen.
I will.
All right, brother.
Last piece of information. What would you say to encourage someone who wants to be you, who looks like you? What would you say?
I feel uncomfortable giving advice, but having said that, I would say be your authentic self. Even when other people tell you you can't be that, be your authentic self. Discover who that is and then pursue it doggedly. And don't be distracted by people who want to pull you back or are intimidated by your energy. Be your authentic self. That's what I would recommend to anyone.
And with that, as I always end, if you see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours. I'm Brian Sebastian. Jon Butcher, thank you for being here. This is not the last time we see you.
All right,
and
brother.
We will see you next week.
Thanks, Brian.